Hello and welcome everybody to the global campfire of coaching. Today we have a very special guest with us. He's a master certified coach, and we're always especially eager to pick their brains when they come here and they give us some inspiration. They give us a little bit of a sense of what heights we can take this profession to. So obviously with that kind of a stature, he has a long introduction because he has many accolades. So let me get into that right away. So we're talking to Georg Kristiansen today, and that's probably a very German pronunciation. He'll tell you how to properly pronounce it in a second. Jan is the economist and teacher who in 2005 became Norway's very first master certified coach, also known as MCC. He graduated from Ericsson Coaching International, and since 1995, Jan was a pioneer piloting Ericsson ICF coaching into Norway's public schools. He's been a leadership and team coach for 20% of top management in all of Oslo's public schools and for academics in finance, in banking, and IT within the fields of transition, leader, team, organizational development, vision, plan implementation, and so forth. Jan also has co-authored two books. One is Professional Dialogues, Coaching and Relationship Thinking, and one is Coaching in Schools, appropriately, with a CEO corporate client prize-winning Norwegian Company of the Year. He's also the co-founder and since 2006 the CEO of Ericsson Coaching Nordic. And Jan really wants to send a big thanks for being a fortunate coach student of Dr. Marilyn Atkinson, who's one of the world's top coach trainers. And he says, when the joy of learning happens in the room, his heart beats. So, Jan Georg, certainly we want to have your heartbeat during this interview. We want to have the joy of learning happening thanks to you. So, very warm welcome to the campfire.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Jan Georg, I always start off with the question, how do you impact other people's lives for the better?
Well, becoming a coach is every day impacting people's lives. And actually, in the very, very end, if any coaching session is like a flight, okay, takeoff is important, the flight itself, but the landing procedure is a moment where your question get really, really reminded. That's when the client has said what was really valuable. I breathed, put off my coach hat, and I'm just Jan Georg, and I think, so what have I received as a gift from this coaching session between two people, a coach and you? And that moment, that's really the gift, the echoing between two people. And so it's inspiring, yes, and then getting inspired back every day.
Yeah, wow, receiving a gift as a coach as well, not just being, the servant and giving the gift of attention, giving the gifts of coaching to other people, but having this reciprocity and receiving a gift as you're coaching these wonderful people. Got it. And I agree that the landing procedure can be tricky, right? Because as far as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, our goal is always to coach ourselves out of existence. Basically, we want to we want to help the client get to a point where they don't need us anymore. So this landing procedure is where they kind of then stand on their own two feet. And setting that up properly is something that has a very long-term effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, and saying that, you mentioned yourself in our first conversation here that Mr. Clutterberg, one of your teachers, and he says in the research that the 7 conversations going on, that when conversations seem to be repeated and there's no significant progress in the client's thinking or behavior, well, if that happens, we know that we haven't caught the essence. Actually, we did not catch the essence in the previous session, and I think much of coaching has, well, I think a lot of the coaching profession seem to have been dividing into two opposites. One being very coach focused, and one very client focused. And if the coaching develops into more coach focused, I am my coach. I am the coach is focusing on my notes, for instance, and my thinking. Then I probably will get more and more distance from really essence of you over there. So the essence of why ICF coaching probably is the gold standard of coaching, and I myself belong to the Ericsson coaching gold standard, as we can also call it. This comes very to a key question.
So what I'm hearing is that putting the focus on the client is really important to you, not getting caught up with all the tools that I have at my disposal as a coach, but really checking in with what is important for the client in the moment. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is very fair, and we get reminded when coaches, ICF coaches, are going to their PCC and MCC exams. You cannot show tools for ACC. That's okay. It's very rusty new language in ACC, but going to PCC and at least MCC, it should be quite fluent. So it's to dance with the client is really the essence there. and if it gets resistance, if the client notices resistance, it's important to remember that coaching, the essence of coaching, as I see, is actually you meeting yourself, or coaching is him or herself meeting herself, not me, the coach, because meeting me would be facilitation coaching or facilitation, or consultancy coaching, or mentoring or mentor coaching. So if it's really ICF coaching, it's you meeting yourself. And how do we do that? That is the key. And I see that is very close to the really true gift of ICF in the world since 1995. And I think it's even more important these days because coaching is supporting good leadership. And leaders need good coaches. And I think really it's about client-focused coaching to make this happen.
Yeah. I have made the experience, I think, if it's not too presumptuous, that when there is really a flow happening in coaching, when it just really works and you feel in your bones that this is something special, that happens when you get out of the client's way and you allow them to almost coach themselves. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that is because that two key aspects. One aspect is you meeting yourself. That is key. Then a second stage that most coaches or many coaches are too bad. They need to step out of the way of the coachee. When the coachee has re-entered inner dialogues, and this is quite subtle. This is quite fable in English, maybe. It's not a strong conversation in the beginning. Then the coach needs to step out and know when to step out, and then you need to know what's happening in the conversation. So, and this is quite easy to see when you record coaching sessions, whether or not this is happening or not. And that was also what I did in my thesis in 5 years ago, listening to six recordings and the transcripts of coaching in depth, studying in what way the coach actually was following the client, or too much following him or herself, the coach following the coach, because then more this resistance will appear, and so it's and the tricky thing about coaching is actually, or client-focused coaching, is that it seems to lack a language of its own. It seems to rest on and depend on language of leadership, of the old leadership or mentoring or teaching, teaching behavior, studies and research that is done over many, many years. And it seems like coaching as a client focus phenomena does not yet have its own language. And this is one of the reasons I observe quite big chaos in coaching globally. And many coaches, colleagues, they often talk about coaching as this thing. They might not even say the word coaching. Coaching, it's this thing. So what is this thing?
Yeah, I've had clients, organizations where they told me, yeah, please go ahead and do some coaching, but don't call it coaching. It's a term that has negative connotations around here. It's like, okay.
Yeah. That's how it is these days. So many places, at least.
Yeah. So something that I encounter a lot is that, yes, that there is a bit of language missing there, and it's so for coaches starting out wanting to build their practice, I think some of it might also be related to the fact that what we're talking about right now and the really masterful coaching is hard to market. It's hard to have clients understand the benefit of that. At least I haven't found a really good way to, to bring it on point and to really say this is why this is amazing, and it's something that needs to be experienced. But like describing it on a website and saying, look, will get out of your way and you will do all the work. Pay me money because I'm a really great coach. That feels counterintuitive to say the least.
Yeah, that's how it is these days. So it's kind of an old saying that coaching is impossible to sell, but wow, it is to be bought. And if you look at, well, maybe all companies, when they have leadership training, they write tenders. We need change, we need development. It's a few years ago since coaching was the word. Now it's often replaced with some other words for the same reason as you say, and but the essence, as I see it, it is, let's say, ICF coaching, creating this safe space with client focus for complete ownership of the results for yourself. So there are many conversations going on at the same time, and these days for about 8 or 9 months, I have a new hobby, being member of the Norwegian committee of a new Norwegian standard of coaching.
Ooh.
Sponsored by ICF Global, 50% or 40% maybe it's now. So it's that is an exciting project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's another conversation to be had, something that we've been passionate about and that we talked about in Turkey at the Ericsson World Game around, which I think ties into the standards of coaching and who should be allowed to practice coaching. Should you have a psychologist's degree for that, or what is the hallmark, what is the education of a good coach, and that sort of thing. So that is a whole nother field that we have to open at some point. Today, I'm really interested in something you mentioned earlier. You mentioned that sometimes the notes we take can take us further away from our client. And that is something that might make some listeners pause and say, well, why would that be? Could you illuminate a little more around what you mean by that?
Yeah, many coaches, they have higher education, by the way. I think they all recall situations from university when you're sitting in the auditorium with your notes. Professor, stop! Don't keep that flip chart on. Flip that overhead on. I need to get everything here. So many coaches, and they become coaches when they are maybe 40, 50 years old. Then they are really, let's say, mature, people, they have established long time then a habit of when I take notes, it's focus on me, and it seems to be happening. Things over there seem to happen too fast. So when it comes to coaches taking notes, COVID times have revealed one thing, and that is when coaching on Zoom, coaches that say they do not take notes, they seem to, because I'm sitting in the room with them and they don't take much notes, they're focusing on me mostly. When I meet them online, it seems that they take quite a lot of notes. And that makes me think that they might have what's called suppressed their natural need of making traces for themselves, for understanding what's happening in the room. Now it's not the professor over there in mathematics or whatever it is, or economics. Now it's a coachee with a rather complex issue, maybe not even more difficult to understand than higher mathematics. So, and to be more concrete, I've done quite unscientific research the last 5, 6, 7 years, where I've been coached by MCC coaches from different schools, from my 15 conspicuous coaches, everyone take notes, CTIers, NLPers, you name it, any. It's between 1 page and 4, 5, 6 pages.
For one session.
For one 45-minute session. Mm-hmm. And you can ask yourself, and let's say, so it's how is attention spent? What did I say? Hargrove identified, the researcher coaching psychology I mentioned just recently. He identified that coaching practices and coaching schools seem to have polarized in two extremes, two polarized sides, side 1 and side 2, you call it. And side 1 seems to be coaching is everything you do to help other people, including open questions and closed questions and rhetorics and everything. Mm-hmm. On the other side, the polarity 2 comes, coaching is very specific ways of helping another person. And here I think ICF comes quite easily neat with their 11 or 8 core competencies and many other coaching schools. When it comes to majority of how many are of these and how many are of these, polarity 1, I guess it's 70-80% of global coaches worldwide. And maybe 10-20% ICF and related, associated, looking at coaching as a sport, as something really client focused over there. And then the new revised 8 core competences, let's say, rises attention on respect for the client even more than the old 11 core competences that was established in 1995. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the coach habit, it seems that it's a lot of attention. And when I looking at you, if you were my coachee now, mm-hmm. and during 45 minutes, I have 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, maybe 4 pages, some focus of attention at least. Its logic is here. And what did I miss over there? And for whom am I taking notes, by the way? For whom am I taking notes? I'm taking notes for me. And this, I think, it's some of the difficulty in global and global trends the world of teaching is shifting. Things that worked until today might not work tomorrow.
So
And
what do
note
you think
taking,
is the positive intention behind taking so many notes? I have my theories. I just want to I just wanted to check in with why do you think people are doing that? What are they trying to achieve by taking so many notes?
probably I need to understand. I think we can use Clutterbuck, because what I've developed the last 10 years is a note taking, but it's flipped note taking. It's a flipped note taking principle. I take notes for you, not for me, but it supports me supporting you. So Clutterbuck's 7 conversations. When the coach feels in some way inadequate or they have failed the client, okay, I need to concentrate more on my notes maybe. When the client procrastinates constantly, leaving the coach frustrated. That might be because of too many coach-focused notes and not client-focused notes. When conversations are repeated with no sense of significant progress in the client's thinking or behavior, then it seems like the coach has missed really something. So I think many of the 7 conversations of, for instance, Clutterbuck, can find its partly reason, not whole reason, of course, but partly reason that coach was not fully present with the coachee, but was partly present with him or herself, like the student at university taking notes from the math professor down there. So there still seemed to be an old habit that seemed to have gone under the radar of many coaching schools and mentoring schools.
Can I play devil's advocate for 1 second?
Thank you.
What would you say if I said, okay, so yes, coaches might have that habit, but I bet that clients have that habit as well, and they are used to equating um, industriously writing things with being productive, right? Isn't it a way to keep rapport with my client if I write things down and I give them the feeling that I value what they're saying and that they're getting their money's worth for their time?
Yeah, at least when I use the notes in the proper moment. But then ICF have kind of a mantra, I would say: follow the client, follow your client, follow your client, follow your client, whatever, follow your client. And the best experiences I have had with my MCC coaches are when they go let's say body oriented on me. And Georg, what happened with your voice when you did that? Oh, what happened? And they managed to follow me there. And by the way, those coaches maybe only have 2 pages produced or something.
So far less than some others.
Yeah. For those who have maybe only 1 page, they seem to be too much oriented on the body, but body's fine, but they seem to be only doing that. So, or they seem to be more ACC oriented in their coaching, because they're missing too many things of what I've said, and they are replacing my words with their words. So they're not backtracking, they are reframing. And if they're reframing me too much, they're partly taking leadership. And if I pick up on my coach's word, then who owns this conversation then? So this and the other thing is that a coaching conversation happens very fast. And if you look at neuroscience, we find that the thinking system of the head have its speed, but there are at least identified 3 thinking centers of the body: the heart, the gut, and the hands, and they are at least 4 times quicker than the nervous system of the head. So I know that And for that interplay happens within the coachee. So the body, the fast body, is influencing the head during the whole conversation. And if I'm taking notes, and I'm quite using my head taking notes, that's my slowest nervous system. And I'm also being influenced with my own quicker bodily thinking systems. That goes into old habit. So that might make an influence that I get more and more on times when I should not be oriented on me as the coach and not you as coachee. And the gap might happen, a gap between those two. And we have Clutterberg 7 conversations and other experiencings. This was a hard conversation. I did not get it really. And it was not this wonderful flow that actually is the aim of coaching.
Yeah, I definitely agree that if I am terribly focused on my notes and I'm trying to write everything down that the coachee is saying, right? I'm so focused on my piece of paper that I can only put a small percentage of my attention on the client, if at all, if I'm not switching back and forth constantly, which of course kind of makes both things harder to do. And then I'm missing certain signals. So if I think about kind of categorizing a little bit like different levels of proficiency of note taking, I'm thinking what comes to mind for me is maybe, level 0 is I'm not taking any notes at all. I'm just, kind of free flowing and because maybe somebody like me, I had to learn 2 different handwritings as a kid. I haven't handwritten in quite a while, so it's a painful process for me and it just takes me out of it. So I don't, I do it on the iPad and yeah, but I very selectively put down notes. So yeah, maybe somebody doesn't put down notes at all, which maybe in one coaching in the context of one single session maybe isn't such a big deal. But if you then go kind of for the whole coaching relationship, you lose something probably, right? So we're not saying nobody should take notes, correct? Notes are an essential part of coaching.
But the more to that, we're taking what I call flipped notes, note taking. If I take notes for me, not showing them to the coachee, by the way, that's one way of taking notes. That's the classic one. What I'm talking about, I take notes for you, for the coachee, and it's according to neuroscience principles. So it is to actually follow the rabbit as it jumps. Because very often the coachee does not answer the coach's questions. They answer another question. That we'll see. That's the normal. That's the default probably. They are trying to answer the question of the coach. So a person that is completely relaxed listens to the question and takes it in, adapts the question and answers it. But coaching is not a coach client is not coming from a walk in the park. It's often tough situations, conflicts. So they are in different ways of not very relaxed, or they are very ambitious. I want to be world manager in world top-notch sports or whatever. So they're kind of quite stressed, and the stressed person does normally not, it's my experience, not hear the question of the coach, but answers the adjusted question. How does the coach pick up that? And if the coach thinks that question was an answer on my question, and I follow up my old question, then we have a larger and larger gap. And many coaches notice too many coaching sessions. They get they feel a bit hard. Well, we have Clutterberg's article again as a reference.
Yeah. So would you say that really masterful note taking then supports the client in supports the coach in holding the question in a way for the client that they can actually answer the question that the coach asked, or does it support in, I mean, because both the coachee and the coach are seeing what's being written down. You said you're sharing, you're doing it openly.
Might or might not when it's physical. Before COVID times, the client can see the notes because we're sitting side by side. Online, they see as you and I see, but you don't know if I'm taking notes now, and I might not know if you're taking notes right now. I had a meeting with my coach just an hour ago. Our first conversation, she had 3.5 pages and of notes, and she's sitting like this, pretending she's not taking notes. Has her techniques, because you should have eye contact, you know.
Yeah.
So it seems to be. And by the way, after the GDPR, I have the right to get my personal notes, and so that's that part
Yeah,
of
that's
the
the
story.
EU data privacy law for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah. So and when it comes to who would like to get showing the notes, let's say I'm showing the notes, showing like that, or having a second camera, that depends. So far, it seems like most people like it, but there are a few people who don't like it, and so they prefer not to see the coach's notes, to only have facial contact, or have no contact at all. They prefer to have only auditory.
Yeah,
and not have the extra visual on it. So there are many things to this.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. So for me, I mean, not that I impose this on my clients, but when they ask me, what I usually prefer is not to have the faces on camera, just because it allows for a more, intense listening and freedom of expression, not having to put in social niceties, but to share the notes that I'm taking, which is really easy on Zoom, to share that via the iPad. But
Great.
yeah, maybe
Great.
that's, being a so-called millennial, or I don't know if that's just a technology affinity.
Yeah. And then it's other questions. Let's say taking notes. Quite many dyslexics, they are not very happy of taking notes. Maybe they prefer. They might have a stronger mental memory, visual memory, or at least auditory memory. So they have a more easy way of remembering the sentence you just. I remember the song you sang 5 minutes ago. A true high talented dyslexic, auditory dyslexic, can probably, you said this. Like your wife remembering what you said, but you don't know remember what your wife said, maybe. So there are individual preferences on taking notes, and then we have the principle of itself, to use the new knowledge of neuroscience that has swept over the world since mindfulness was dancing on the waves of neuroscience, let's say 5 or 10 years ago. So it's the principles behind the notes that is a second question, and how it's done. So it's and this is actually I call myself the dancing coach. I'm dancing with the client, and as you mentioned, the client's response on my question is the perfect response. But my job as a coach is to hear what question did actually the client answer to.
Why does that
Probably
matter?
not mine.
Right. Why does that matter?
Because when I really hear what the client has said, I can follow up with my let's say, mostly client-tailored response. And quite many coaches, coach trainers is very familiar with that. That coaches might, when the coachee is just finished answering a question, a split second after the coach has the next question ready. And that is an indication that the coach prepared the coach question before the client was ready answering. And we are talking here coach focused or client focused. So missing out of essential information from the client will not enhance client focused coaching. And I think this is some of the reasons why maybe 70-80% could be, according to Hargrove, Polarity 1, everything you do. So I'm probably stepping on quite many toes, because I think most coaches take notes. Why they're taking notes, I'm questioning. Why are you taking notes, and for whom are you taking notes? And what role and what function? How does these notes help the coaching, and how do you know it helped? So there are a few questions, and how this with note-taking needs to be practiced. By the way, it is a practical tool. So note-taking needs to be practiced, and using the one-page ownership map, as I call it, to secure the ownership of the client the whole way. It needs to be seen, actually. So
yeah, let's transition into that. So first of all, I wanted to make the observation that it might not be surprising that you step on many toes, as you are the dancing coach, and as you are dancing through, you are bound to step on a few toes. But before we go into that specific methodology that you developed, that I can't wait to learn a bit more about. So I understand now that the intention and the focus matters in order to create powerful, to take powerful notes, right? You're saying that in order to create really powerful notes that support the client, I have to have my attention on the client. I have to follow the client. If I put myself in the shoes of a client and I'm being coached, how do I, as a client, recognize just from the outside, without knowing about their motivations or their focus, how do I, as somebody who doesn't know about coaching, who's just being coached, recognize a coach that takes powerful, high quality notes?
That's a cute question. When I in July, the ICF, I was asked for max 5-minute videos for the Advanced 2020 global conference of some niche, special niche, or some special client experiences you want to share. I made a video. One of the clients, that was one of my current clients, that's this summer, by the way, she said that Georg has a way of asking just the right question at just the right time that would bring me to incredible realizations. And this is said by Kathleen Harmon, MCC in the United States, and she was nominated Coach of the Year by the ICF this summer.
So she knows what she's talking about.
I guess she knows what she talks about. And also I have a practice of recording the sessions, and I send the recording to the coachee for the listening. And what they often says, and she also said, that I was so into the coaching, I was so into the dance with myself. So I hope I didn't step on toes for the coachee. So dancing with a coachee, that her quicker, and that is my hypothesis. I don't know this, but what she said once she listened to the recordings I completely forgot I said that. I absolutely have no recollection saying this and this. Wow. And if I make a hypothesis of what actually she is saying, and she and others are saying, is that her quicker nervous systems, the coach is actually responding to the quicker nervous systems of the coachee. Also, what happens that the direct communication, all that comes in, but also the traces in words. Because the words, the patterns of words comes into this note-taking way of thinking. They are much more into words than we actually have a normal knowledge of. So that her slower thinking systems didn't actually get that, but her body got it. Or maybe you can say mostly her limbic system got it, but her frontal lobe, her visual was happy being so relaxed she could actually break through on things. So that is what clients says around these things.
Got it. That does sound very powerful. So how did you get inspired to create your own note-taking methodology?
I think I worked with it about 10 years, more or less 10 years time. 2010, around 2010, I guess. And I noticed that, well, I'm an economist. Maybe I'm a school-damaged academic, being a bit too brainy. And I noticed my ability to remember what the other person said was not the best. Maybe it's also because my father was an economist and my relatives, maybe I'm...
You just had no chance.
Maybe I have no chance. So the note-taking method, I think, started as a compensation strategy to support what actually was said. And I'm a fortunate student of Marilyn Atkinson. And I remember when she talked about Paul MacLean and the tree brain metaphor. I thought that was very fascinating. Paul MacLean, I think, is a kind of a very strong inspiration to modern neuroscience, and the way, according to Marilyn Atkinson's 4-quadrant thinking, I did a quite nasty map over between Paul MacLean and Atkinson's 4-quadrant thinking, and that was actually documented in the my thesis at the University of Derby in UK in 2015. And this way of note-taking seemed to correspond very well for my clients, and especially with team coaching clients. Because in team coaching, it was even more obvious. When you introduced me, you mentioned I've been coaching 15% of all public schools in Oslo. Mm-hmm. This is statistics. This numbers we call statistics now. And when you have a leadership group of 4 or 5 people, they often disagree. And with something, they disagree with something. And it's so easy as a team coach to get their disagreement on this new person in the room, to just project it on the coach and the team coach. So it was quite an important reason that when I put their words on this map, a double flip chart, mm-hmm. With the system that is very logic, and to be able to point on the corresponding information they are giving. So it got the power out, the focus out from, not from me, but to the note. So that was very obvious, to be comfortable still be present and authentic as a team coach for this group of people that started to fight and actually moved into peace. Having one-to-one coaching, it is different, but it's not that different. Fabio, you have one name. I have Jan Georg. I have two names. Do you think Jan and Georg agree with themselves all the time?
I don't know. You tell me.
Or have a majority and minority, and maybe get a mix up in between. So a single human being has inner dialogues. It's like a team. So, but things happen very fast, much faster than actually a team coaching with a leadership group of 5 people. And to follow the speed of the coach of the coachee, I use this, and I'm a teacher of coaching also for many years, and my students have picked this up for many years, and I have the fortune to train many coaches in Russia and other places, and also being mentoring ACCs applying for PCC and PCC applying for MCCs. And what they say when using these principles, they get very precise, you can say very precise, low logical, very easy to understand feedback. So they grow their knowledge very, very fast. So now I'm switching to the mentor-mentee aspect. You started with the coach-coachee aspect. So there are many perspectives to be taken on this, and how client-focused note-taking using neuroscience principles enhances and make it even easy to be client-focused. So
okay, so if I were to summarize a little bit, so there are many different use cases, from one-to-one coaching to team coaching to one-to-one mentoring other coaches. It has its place, and it brings great value and maybe slightly different value in all of these circumstances. So what I heard you say in terms of the team coaching was that the type of note-taking that you employ enabled you to hold up a mirror to the group that was perceived as fair, I guess, or that was perceived as objective, and it didn't associate kind of what you brought in as the coach with you as the person, as this outsider that then the rest of the group unites against. But it was kind of like, here, this is the chart that we're working with, and this is what you said, whether you remember it or not, and whether you can keep up with the speed of everything that's happening. And there's emotions running high, right? And there's thoughts that are coming in without people being able to control them, that sort of thing. So it helps to maybe not slow things down, but it's almost like if we connect it to soccer, to football, like a little bit like an instant replay, like a video assistant referee, where you can take a look at the tape and you see, okay, so what was going on just now, and was it offside, or like what exactly was being said? Does that kind of capture it a little bit?
Yeah. I think that's a very good and what seems to be, I've done many findings through this method, and one is that when the coachee is asking questions during the coaching session, or the team members in the team coaching are asking questions from coachee, inner questions within the coachee has its very special place. It's called the feedback area. Because
Sorry, just for clarification, are they asking the coach the question, or are they asking themselves the question?
No, they're thinking aloud. So what should I do in this case? Okay, all right, what do I do in this case? So I'm collecting inner questions and they're collecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A coachee produces quite a lot of them. I had a 9 people organizational coaching last week, and that was quite a few questions, they produced. And I was backtracking the questions, and I can backtrack precisely because I wrote it down the moment, not adjusting with some consultancy add-on here, but precisely. So ownership of them is no doubt at all. So and then comes, oh, what actually am I saying here? So that helps the coach. That helps the coachee actually to get further with very little work from the coach. And questions to oneself. Where does it come from? I think it comes from the same side where I put metaphors in a note, quite symbolic, some probably limbic system, very associative. It smokes smoke of where's there fire, and we're talking campfire here. So it's kind of the smoke and the fire, its energies. And then in the last week organizational coaching session, people were quite angry, and one of the clients said, well, during the preparation with the coaches last week, my coach, I got the word, it's like a circus. Circus, and the other like, circus. Yeah, and I took on the homework to work on circus. So this company is like a circus. At this moment, I've already turned to my broad flip charts. Elephant, you said. Monkeys. You said a tiger. So and then they understood at once. Her colleagues understood what she said perfectly. I don't understand, but it's not for me to understand. Understanding for me, that is Polarity 1 coaching, I would say. That slows things very much down. I'm keeping the high speed of the coachees. And that was actually the moment of truth where the whole day went over the hill, and it went very fast. So, and it's the same for coachee. The Kathleen I mentioned talked about a raft in one of the, it's like a raft, a rubber raft. And many coaches, they use metaphors, and that is so strong. But it's much more to do with it, and to put it in context with the rest of the coaching, and not as something like a lonely island in the coaching, but actually connect to the rest. So everything connects to everything with a quicker bodily thinking system and the slower mental ones.
Everything connects to everything. That reminds me, you mentioned before that the methodology that you employ uses one page, right? It takes place on one page. So I would imagine that allows you to see the connections from everything to everything, because if you kind of are on 4 different pages, it's this artificial barrier between different ideas where you have to flip over the page, and they don't have a chance to get connected just because they're physically separated.
Yeah, and that is a very important thing, and still I use the classic Ericsson style when it's, let's say, an arrow, a big arrow, boom, separate page, or a wheel, probably a separate page for the wheel. So there are enclosures you can put, but still that is supplementary to the dancing floor itself.
Yeah, okay. So I've taken a lot of your time. You've been very generous. Before I let you go, now that we've teased people so much with all these wonderful things that this note-taking methodology can do, where can people learn more about it?
Currently, I've set up a separate web page called followtheclient.com. It's linked to a Norwegian page. I have some free tasters, short free tasters on it. So and there are those are leading to master classes in giving mentor coaching, because some the clients often say this mentoring enhances coaching by at least 40%. So there seems to be something here. So it's mentoring, and it's classes to learn both the note-taking method that has an easy part, low-hanging fruit part, and the more in-depth part. So that is followtheclient.com is one way of. It has a Norwegian name, but it's a Norwegian, so I spare you for that one.
So when you get to it, are there embedded videos that I can play without knowing
Yeah,
Norwegian?
there
Or
are one. Yeah, is all English. The main page called Hopehav. There you got the Norwegian name. Hopehav. It's about working together, rephrasing, working collectively together, helping each other. We are all mentors. So you comes into page, follow the client. It's called. It has this 5-minute video where this ICF nominee, Coach of the Year, says what she says, and some other people. And I say something more about this. And there's some more information. I'm still working on this to get it. Maybe I'm like this crazy professor who have been focusing so much on this, and now I'm thinking to get it out in the world. So I appreciate your questions regarding that part.
yeah, absolutely. And I think you'll get a lot more questions when people, get excited and they want to interact with it and they say, how can I get certified, or how can I know how to do this, or that sort of thing. I know you have one additional webinar coming up for our Ericsson family, right? Is that only
Yeah.
for Ericsson facilitators, or who's invited to that? I forget.
The 10th of December
Yes.
is for Ericsson faculty, if I remember what Richard said. All faculty, I think, has been invited there.
Okay.
But that will be an in-house Ericsson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm setting up more tasters for let's say the rest of the world, put it that way, because I think this is something that is needed to follow the client, to put it that way, to hear what the other person says.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's probably worthwhile, if you out there are listening to this, watching this half a year from the date that we recorded it, if it's well into 2021, check back in with followthecoach.com to see what has developed, and if maybe there's even an English version available. Because I'm sure as you get more information on how people can interact with this, you will put that on that website, correct?
Follow the Coach, is that the new website?
Isn't that? I'm sorry, I understood that's what you were pointing people to.
Well, maybe this is a good example of interpreting.
I didn't
follow
take notes
the client.
on this, so maybe I got it wrong.
Followtheclient.com.
Of course, follow the client. Yes, but yes. I want to follow you. Maybe that's why it's in my head. I want to follow the coach.
Yeah. Follow the client.
Obviously, followtheclient.com. Yes, very, very important. To be part of the 20%, not the 80%. All right, Jan Georg, is there anything that you would like to mention, that you would like people to know that we haven't been able to bring up here?
Well, I would say thank you to the ICF to open up, to be nurturing the importance of having focus on the other. At the same time, observing that the rest of the world do not know so much about it, at least not in Norway. So for me, it's to I want to bridging between focusing on the other, the ICF way of, with maybe a very narrow language, coaching language that no one else understands, to a more understandable language for everyone. And that I say thank you, Fabian, for assisting me on that mission that I'm working on every day. So thank you.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. This is basically what this podcast is there for, to find those ideas that maybe have a little bit of a trouble getting out there, but just finding these valuable pearls of wisdom, as we sit around the campfire and we share what's working, what can be even better. So
Mm.
thank you so much um, for helping the podcast do exactly what it was designed to do.
Mm. Very well.
Yeah. So, Jan Georg, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll talk to each other again, because I just can't wait to see how this develops. And I'm personally also very interested in improving my note taking. I think in general, it is an aspect of coaching that is overlooked and underrated, and it can empower and detract from our coaching sessions. So why not empower our coaching sessions if we have the choice? And thank you so much for giving us a way to do that.
Mm.
All right. Have a wonderful
Yeah.
rest of the year and hope to talk to you again soon.
Mm. You too. Bye bye for now.